Hello, everyone. How's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and I'd like to do a complete beginner's guide for Cogmind, shall we? Cogmind is a fantastic classic roguelike, except unlike most roguelikes where they're fantasy based, this is a sci fi based roguelike where you play a rogue robot that is kind of rebelling against a domineering AI, and you're trying to escape servitude. So you're actually moving upward as you run away, whereas most roguelikes, you're kind of going down into a dungeon. And this game has recently received a bunch of updates. There's a lot of content that is new to me. I've been playing this game for years as it's developed. Kind of took a bit of a break, and I came back because they added, within the last few months, some tremendous updates to the UI and the zoom of the map screen, which is a huge thing that I think will just make this more accessible for players. It was always a complaint whenever I played Cogmind on the channel, and an issue of mine, that it was just microscopic. It was like kind of some of the old Dwarf Fortress tile sets. In fact, let me show you right now. If I click zoom right here, or hold shift and use the mouse wheel, I can zoom out, and this is the traditional zoom setting. It is small. It's necessary for the game map to be this small a lot of the time because you can fire so many tiles away with your weapons, so you need to be able to see targets to hit and things that are shooting at you, and you might want to have a better view of the map. But looking at it at this zoom level, at least for myself, for a prolonged period of time, this is kind of an eye strain. So a lot of the time, I actually like to use this more zoomed in view so I can explore my immediate surroundings easier. And I think this zoom, in addition to the new modal UI, which I'm using, is the perfect time to jump into Cogmind if you've never played before. So in this complete beginner's guide, what I'm going to do is start a brand new game. We've just started out. Here we are. And we have no parts on our robot. And what we're going to do is just play a new game so that you can play along, watch along, learn to play. And I'm going to explain the controls, the UI, the systems, some basic tips and tricks and strategy. But I'm going to do so in a way that's not spoilery. I'm not going to min-max. I'm not going to tell you the preferred build or anything like that. I'm just going to kind of narrate my thought process and the decision-making so that you can play this game however you like, because one of the great things about Cogmind is that there are so many different builds and play styles that are accommodated. Do you want to be a super fast robot that's flying around, hacking terminals, and avoiding combat? Do you want to be kind of a middle-of-the-road robot that's not super slow, not super fast, not incredibly combat-y, but can fight if they want? Or do you want to be like rolling around on tank treads with a bunch of armor and a bunch of weight, with huge heavy weapons just blowing up and taking on all fights? These are all up to you, and there is plenty of room in between. But what we're going to do is discuss some good options for a beginner. But before I start moving, let me talk about what you see here on the screen and how to interact with the UI. Cogmind actually has a tremendous user interface and interaction between the mouse and keyboard. Lots of elements of the UI are clickable, as is the game space. The game plays very, very well. It's intended for mouse and keyboard. And it has a lot of quality of life features that, even though it looks like an old school roguelike, it has very, very modern quality of life features built in. So in the upper left, you're going to see our main game log. This is going to display information, alerts, game data that's not combat based over here. So for example, it's telling us right now that our robot is just turned on. It says systems online, the core is stable, location is unknown, and our goal is to explore. If you want to make this log bigger at any time, you can click the plus button to kind of expand it so you can read back through the messages you've been receiving. Additionally, you can completely customize the UI or try different kind of UI loadouts if you want. I'm using the modal UI but there are some other options that we'll look at in a moment. The next box to the right is the combat log. This displays everything combat related, and it's fantastic. It shows you who's shooting at you, did they hit, did they miss, what was their percentage to hit you, what body part on your robot did they hit, how much damage did they do, did you hit, how much damage did you do, etc. It's fantastic. But you'll notice at the bottom of the combat log in the upper center of the screen, there are some buttons that are running across the bottom of this box. Zoom is on the bottom left. If I click this, I can zoom in and out. Or, like I said before, you can just hold shift and use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Now, at the bottom right, there are several different letters here. And C, which is what we're on now and what the game defaults to, is combat. But L is log, which is the same as the log to the left. I is your intel, and A is information about any allies that you might have. We're going to put it back on combat. Now, in the upper right, these are very important statistics about your robot. First of all, let's talk about your core. Your core, mine is at 250 out of 250. That is basically your health in this game, your hit points. If that drops to 0, you lose. This is a roguelike. It's permadeath. You lose, you explode, and you start again completely robot naked with nothing carried over in between runs, as a classic roguelike is. So you want to protect your core to live as long as possible. And the main way that you do that is by equipping your robot with parts that you find. I like to think of your robot kind of like Johnny 5 from Short Circuit, where you can use random spare parts to put on yourself and build yourself up at any time. And unlike many roguelikes where you just get a sword and you're like, okay, I'm going to use this sword forever until maybe I get a better one or something like that, Cogmind operates very differently in that you're constantly changing your parts around, because your parts, as you put them on your robot self, whether it's new legs or some kind of propulsion system, a backpack or a storage container, guns, weaponry, all of these things you put on yourself, and they provide coverage which protects your core from incoming fire, which is good because you don't want your core getting hit because you die. However, when the fire comes in and is hitting you, instead of hitting your core, it hits your parts, and it does damage to whatever part of your body it hits. So there is location-specific damage, kind of like Battletech, to your mech, like so. And if you get hit in your gun, for example, your gun takes damage, and that means your gun can break and no longer be usable, and you could have this awesome rocket launcher that you were wrecking everything with, and now, well, it's busted, and unless you can repair it or find a replacement, then you're out of luck. So your parts don't stick around very long, generally, because they're taking a lot of fire. What this means is you need to carry around a lot of spare parts and always be on the lookout for spare parts. And you kind of have to be more fluid about what you're using because you need to make best use of just what's lying around, what you have access to survive. Now, below the core is a blue bar, I'm in the upper right, which is your energy. Your energy is your power level. And certain parts take energy to use. Guns specifically take a ton of energy, depending, like if it's an energy weapon, like a laser or something. And you will draw from this energy pool to use them. Now, in parentheses, next to the energy, I have 100, and I'm at maximum energy, is a plus 1.5. That means I am getting 1.5 energy per turn currently. So I'm at an energy surplus, which is good for regenerating energy. But if I put on an engine or some kind of power unit, I can boost this even further. I can boost my energy capacity, and I can also boost my energy regeneration rate. Below energy is matter, the magenta bar. I have 100 out of 300 maximum matter. And you can, just like energy, you can boost your maximum capacity of matter by equipping a utility item called a matter pod that lets you hold more. And you can also, just while we're talking about boosting your max, you boost your core when you level up. And you level up in this game in an interesting way, which is by making it to the next floor. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But matter is something that is used to fire most weapons, kinetic weapons. It's how you generate bullets. You basically are taking matter, shaping it into bullets or even rockets, and then firing it. And weapons will need more and more matter depending on what kind of ordnance they are. And so you want to have a lot of this. It's like your ammo, basically, but other things can also use matter. That you could see that there is some matter on the ground. It's actually right here. It's this kind of purple pile. And we'll talk about interacting with the game world and inspecting in a moment, but that's where I would go to get some more matter. System corruption. There are parts that you can get that are corrupted. There are traps that can make you corrupted. There are things in the game that can start to corrupt you. And as your corruption level rises, you start to have kind of like malfunctions where things go wrong with your robot. And generally, you want to have this number as low as possible. My temperature is currently cool, and heat is definitely a factor in this game. Some weapons heat up horribly, and you'll need to equip heat sinks or manage your heat by turning weapons on and off, for example, so that you don't overheat, because that's a bad situation as well. If you overheat, the game will give you warnings about that. And then below is our movement, and it tells you how fast we are moving right now. We're actually moving fast because we're just our core at the moment. We're just like an exposed core. We don't really have any propulsion systems. We have nothing on us. We're just rolling around, praying that we don't get shot, and we need parts immediately. Now, below this is the time, which is how many turns have passed, and then your location, which is, we're at -11, and we don't really know where we are. We don't have enough information yet. But if we, like I said, climb the stairs, well, then we go -10 as we keep going higher and higher. Evasion is just telling us right now we have 40% avoidance, which is pretty nice. Now, this box right here to the left of evasion tells us our scan, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. What does that mean? That means I can either click on these hostile, friendly, parts, exits, or I can push the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the keyboard to turn on and highlight objects of this type. So if I push hostile, well, it'll say there's no hostiles to label. I just push 1 on the keyboard. If I push friendly, no friendlies. But if I push number 3 for parts, immediately you see that every single part that's lying on the ground is displayed. So this is kind of like, and you can push 3 again to hide that. It's kind of like in Diablo when you hold Alt to show loot or interactables that are around. It's a super useful thing to do if you just want to see what is around. And generally, there'll be a big pile of loot if you blow up an enemy robot, for example, lying around. You might just want to use it that way. But like I said, the mouse also works really well. So if I just mouse over anything, it will just tell me what this stuff is. Things are color-coded. This is me. The blue robot, by the way, is me. Should have made that clear earlier. This green guy is a neutral robot. He's a scavenger. And we don't want him coming around here. And he's a major nuisance. Why is he a major nuisance? These scavengers are working constantly to clean up the area. So they will vacuum up loot that's lying around and take it to go be recycled somewhere. It's just their programming. That is not what you want. If there's a key piece of loot that you want and this guy comes and vacuums it up, that's bad. So you can shoot these guys, and if you shoot them once, they will get the message and they will just stop coming towards the loot and go away. And that's generally what you want to do. But if they do get a piece of loot and you really want it, you can try to shoot them and blow them up, and then the loot will come out. It might be damaged, but you can get it out of them if that happens. Right now, he's far enough away that I'm not overly concerned. And I only have a gun to shoot him with anyway, so there's that. Now, below the scanning, you see that, and exits just shows available exits. We can't see an exit right now. Even if I zoom out, the map is very, the fog of war is real. We haven't explored enough to see exits. And I'm going to zoom back in and look at this box on the right. This is our, kind of like our paper doll. This is our equipment. And we have different categorical slots. We have a power slot. We have 2 propulsion slots. We have 2 utility slots. And we have 2 weapon slots. And they're unused at the moment. And what we want to do is go pick up these kind of light blue parts and start building up our robot. Parts that we pick up, we can equip or we can put in our inventory, which you see in the bottom right, and I currently have 0 out of 5 inventory space. Everything just takes up a space in this. There isn't weight for items that are in your inventory, but there is for items that you have equipped, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So currently, if I push 3 just to look around, this is a lot of information. I'm going to push 3 again and just talk about what we need to get first. The first thing we want to pick up would be some propulsion. We need something to move around with. We're too slow, we're too exposed. But the main thing also that propulsion does, not only does it determine how fast you move, but it determines your stability and how much weight or mass your system can support. So the stronger and kind of more heavy duty your propulsion system is, the heavier equipment you can equip. So, for example, there isn't any on the screen right now, but if you want to fly around and you pick up some hover units for flying your robot around and moving really quickly, well, that's awesome. You move really fast. But the downside is you can't support very much weight at all. So you have severely limited options when it comes to weaponry, utilities, etc. Conversely, you could pick up these treads, which are like tank treads, and you could put these on, and then you could support a whole ton of weight, but you're really slow. So you need to manage, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to move slowly but be able to carry a lot of weight, or do I want to move more quickly? I think I love tank treads personally because I like the idea of just rolling around and being heavy. But I honestly think, and the game even recommends it, the best starting propulsion would be legs. They're a good balance right in between treads and something like wheels, for example, which are the fastest propulsion that we see around us. Wheels are really fragile. And another element, not only are we talking about mass support and speed, but we're also talking about coverage and protection. And wheels provide very little coverage to your core, whereas the heavier propulsion provides more. But how do you see that? How do you know that? I know that because I've played the game. But if I look at this aluminum leg right here, I'm just going to mouse over this aluminum leg. If I right-click it, boom, it brings up an amazing detailed report of this aluminum leg. You can see over here, there's a sweet ASCII art of the aluminum leg. And then it tells you all sorts of information about what it is. And you can, click on these things to get even more information with left click. This is a leg propulsion. It has a rating of 1. What does that mean? The higher the rating, generally, the better it is. Like, as we progress through the game, we're going to find just upgraded, like higher level items, rating 2, rating 3, whatever it is, meaning that they're usually better than the previous things. And this is another reason you're constantly going to be retrofitting or refitting your robot because you're going to find better, higher rating items. This has an integrity of 90. The integrity of the item is the health the item has. So that's how much damage that particular leg can take from incoming fire. Its coverage is how much does it protect your core. The bigger the number, the more it protects the core. It's inactive because we don't have it on us. And then it'll tell you how much of your resources, your energy, your matter, and your heat does it take or use to have this equipped each turn. Then down here, it gives you information about what it does, which is propulsion. And its time for move is pretty good. If I click on this, it says the amount of time required to move one space when unburdened and using only this type of propulsion. Where multiple active propulsion modules have different values, the average is used. Now, normally you can't use, not normally, you just can't use like a wheel and a leg. You can't use different propulsion systems, but you could use a rating 1 aluminum leg with a much better leg, and the better leg might be faster, but you don't get that faster or slower movement speed. It's kind of like averaged out is what it says. And the way I understand it, 100 would be squarely even. Like 100 is 1 turn, 1 move. So this is slightly slower than average, but it's got good integrity and good coverage, and so it's just a nice middle-of-the-road thing. It has a drag status, which shows you information about what happens when you're airborne. We don't have to worry about that. And here's energy information. So every time you move, you use 2 energy. This is important because if you wait with the aluminum leg, if you just stand in place and pass a turn, you actually are not using energy. But if you move, you do. You use 2, which is not very much. It gives you 1 heat if you're moving, and this is active. We'll talk about active, inactive in a moment. It provides 10 support. This is the key. 10 support means it allows us to equip 10 weight units of other parts, and we're okay. And then there is a penalty if we're over our support level. So each active leg, there's also some flavor, another piece of utility that these legs provides a 20% chance to kick non-huge targets out of the way. Moving on legs also confers the running state, which increases evasion but decreases accuracy. Each 5% per level of momentum up to 3. So if you're like starting to run away and you get further and further and you're running and running, this is good for your evasion, but it's bad for your shot accuracy. So if you want to be accurate, you stand in place. Okay, so I'm going to just left-click anywhere to dismiss that. Now I want to go get that leg. So you can either use the numpad arrow keys to move around, or you could just left-click on something. I'm going to left-click on the aluminum leg, and I walk over to the aluminum leg. Now I'm standing on top of it. To pick up loot in this game, just like many roguelikes, you can push G. You can also in this game, you can left-click on yourself to pick up something on the tile that you're standing on. Or you can push A to pick up and equip something that you're standing on. So I'm just going to push A, and it says I acquired the aluminum leg, and now I have it equipped right here. So a bunch of things change about me. Number one, I've put on this aluminum leg, and you could see it right here. And my movement speed has changed. As you see, I'm now walking. I'm at 83% speed, whereas I was much faster with my core. By the way, sometimes it is a escape strategy for players to just, there's a keybind for just dumping all of the parts that are on your body and then using your core speed to just run away to the next level. That is something you could certainly do if it's a complete emergency situation. It's a last-ditch effort because if your core is exposed and taking damage, it's very, very bad, obviously. This excavator showed up on the map, by the way, just as we're looking around, and it's worth noting that neutral robots are green and hostile robots are yellow. So these are both like friendly guys, but you can right-click on them if you want to get more information about them, about what they do, about their armor, etc. I'm going to left-click away. All right, so we have one leg. One leg is pretty good, but not quite enough. Let's immediately go get this other leg. Now you'll notice as I stepped up across the matter, you automatically pick up matter when you walk on the tile in this game, like auto pick up gold in Diablo or something. So the matter has been picked up and it's added to my pool right here. I'm on a leg. Now just to show you, I can left-click my tile to pick up this leg, and then if it's in my inventory, instead of just pushing A to acquire and equip the item off the ground, I can equip it from my inventory. You can double-click it, or you can left-click and hold it until it becomes this white named item that you can kind of drag around, and then I'm just going to drag it up to my second propulsion slot right here, let it go, And now I've equipped a second leg. And you see that my matter has gone down a little bit. I'm going to right-click on this. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe, and I'm sure you could verify this if you're a veteran Cogmind player, I think I used 10 matter to just kind of make any necessary parts that I needed, like the bolts, to put that on my body. So there was like a small cost to my matter to go pick that up and put it on. Okay, so now we need some weapons, and I'm going to pick up everything that's here. So this ion engine, I'll right-click it. This goes in our power slot, and it has a mass of 5, which is important because this is what we're going to start looking at once we've got our propulsion set. Our propulsion does not add mass to you, which is amazing. It just adds support. At least these legs don't. The legs are just adding support. And you can see over here underneath this awesome ASCII illustration of the engine, there's a 0 out of 20 that's listed on my parts window, and that means I have 0 mass out of the 20 total I could support without going overweight. So this engine would take up 5 of that mass if I put it on. But what's it give me? Well, it has an integrity of 60, which is the hit points of the item. It provides coverage to our core, which is good. It has an active upkeep of 5 heat, so it kind of heats us up. It's engine's hot, but it provides us with 5 energy surplus per turn and an extra 150 of storage. So I'm going to push escape and go down to this ion engine. I'm just going to push A and put it on. So you could see now I've got this ion engine. And right away, the game is telling me a warning for both energy and matter in the upper right. Why is that? It just tells you that when you get below half, I believe. So we were full on energy before, but now instead of holding 100, we can hold that extra 150, so we can go up to 250 energy, and our surplus is now +8 per turn. So an engine is absolutely necessary for kind of keeping your energy in check. Because, remember, our legs take energy every turn to move. Now let's get some guns, and we want this storage unit. Remember, you can push 3 just to highlight everything that's around. But in all honesty, you want to pick up everything that's in this room. And I'm going to do that really fast. I'm going to do that before this guy gets here. So this guy's coming in to ruin our party. So I'm going to prioritize what I want before he gets here. No! No! Okay. He took an item away. Okay, good. Okay, I got a bunch of stuff. I just started I was like a kid on Supermarket Spree, just grabbing anything before he vacuumed it. All right, so he did completely ruin us because we got the guns. And let's equip some stuff. So, in general, you want to have as many spare parts as you can and backups. So if my engine gets damaged, I can just slap on this engine. Now, this engine is actually different. It's a light ion engine. It weighs less, but as you can see, it has much less storage than the previous engine. It provides the same supply, same heat, but it's less storage. Now, another thing you can do when you're trying to compare is you can right-click on this ion engine right here, and then the tooltip or the big box displaying the information kind of expands outward to the left over here, and it gives you a comparison. So you could see the +2 in red means the ion engine that I currently have equipped, because I'm looking at the light ion engine in my inventory. If you want to keep this big screen on your main item, then right-click on that first, and then right-click on whatever item you want to compare it to, and then that item's stats will show up over here. And so, my engine is 2 heavier, but it has 20 more integrity, which means more hit points, and 125 more storage. And then everything else is the same. So it's a nice, convenient way of comparing the statistics of these items. I'm just going to left-click away from this, close it up. And I'm going to go get these treads. Oh, I can't carry it. Ah! I actually want the gun. Okay, before he takes it. I need to equip stuff so that I can carry more before he goes crazy. Let's equip this storage unit. So if I right-click on the storage unit, what's it do? First of all, look at that integrity. A lot of hit points. Not a ton of coverage. Only, 7% or 25 coverage, but pretty good. 5 mass. You can see with the engine equipped, I'm at 5 out of 20. But it provides 3 extra inventory spaces to have this equipped. So that's the main thing. It doesn't take any upkeep to have it. It's just a backpack where you throw parts into it. The bigger of these storage units you can get, the better. However, they're heavier. So you need to have better propulsion to get more support so that you can get away with equipping a heavier storage unit. But it's worth it. They're so important. And I'm going to left-click away from this. I'm just going to grab this small storage unit and put it in my utility section. I'm going to get... Where are you going, buddy? Okay. I'm going to get this gun. I'm going to get this matter. And I'm going to get these treads. But I need to equip some other stuff first. Okay. So you can see I'm at 10 out of 20. I'm going to equip some lasers. Let me look at this laser. This laser is only a mass of 2, so it's not super heavy. Has a bunch of integrity. Actually, guns have a lot of coverage. However, here's all the information about the weapon that you need to look at. Got a range of 14. It takes 10 energy every shot, and it gives you plus 50 heat. This thing heats up massively. It does 12 to 13 damage. It's thermal damage. It has a 10% chance to burn them when you crit. Or, actually, sorry. It's a 10% crit chance, and if it crits, it burns, I believe is the way to interpret that. And then it has a medium heat transfer. So I might want to look at my gun over here instead and equip a pulse gun, which is an electromagnetic gun, and equip a laser. So I have 2 different types of guns. I could do that, but this thing is just also an energy weapon. So I don't have a kinetic gun right now. I got a couple of energy weapons, and that's okay. This is less heat than the laser, but it uses more energy. I'm going to equip both. 1 of each. So I'm going to equip a medium laser. By the way, equipping items or changing your loadout takes time. So watch my time. It's at 57. I'll equip this pulse gun. 1 turn. So think about that. If you're under fire and you're changing your loadout, which is something you might very well do, you can certainly take extra damage that you don't need to by trying to swap when you're under duress. You might want to move around a corner, then do your swapping to avoid that. Okay, so there's a couple of wheels that they left behind, but there's also these treads. I'm going to pick up the treads. It's worth noting that if I want to equip a different propulsion type, like these treads, I can't have a tread in the leg. I could have 1 tread, and I could have 2 treads, but not mismatch. So you want to get pairs if you can, if you have 2 slots, which is what you start with. Okay. So do I want to pick up these wheels? I don't, really. I could, and there's no reason necessarily not to, because I have 4 out of 8 slots, and I could pick up some slots. But I know I'm not going to try to use those, and also, even though there's no hostiles around, in general, in Cogmind, you want to be as efficient as you can when you're moving around, because security threats seem to increase the more time you spend on a floor. So you kind of want to play it almost like an extraction game and get in and get out. But again, this is the dance of Cogmind. I'm moving onto the screen. You can see there's some matter at the top and the bottom, and then in orange, as it will always be, is the exit. If I push 4, there it is. That's the exit. That's the way up. That'll take us to the next floor. The balancing act is, do I spend more time on this level trying to find loot, or do I go to the next floor? The advantage of being fast and going to the next floor is that you level up when you change floors. you actually get no experience in Cogmind from fighting enemies. You get loot, so you can get their treasure, you can get their parts, but you can't get experience doing that. So there is this kind of different relationship where, like, you're not trying to necessarily always kill everything. In fact, most of the time you can't. There's just too many, unless you have a sweet setup with a lot of weapons and it's early, or you scale up really well. But you are kind of trying to get as much good loot as you can and then leave. So it's always just balancing those forces. When you move up, you will level. Your core replenishes its health. So that's fantastic. And it's worth noting, you cannot go back to the previous floor you were on in Cogmind. It's like you move on, you're on a new floor. You can never go back. The enemies do not chase you. So sometimes you need to escape. You just go to the next level. You heal up. You level up. Great. But it's worthless if you don't have enough gear, and you will come to the next floor and there's bad guys around and they're just way stronger than you and you die anyway. So you want to still try to build yourself up. So I'm not going to race for the exit. I'm actually going to try to get this matter that's left behind here. And then you can look over here and see if these excavators have found anything. Oops, but they haven't. Now, if you try to walk onto a friendly robot or a neutral robot like this excavator, it'll give you a warning and say you really want to do that. And if you repeat that movement, you will kick it. And you sometimes have to do that to get them out of your way, but I don't want to kick it right now. They're blocking the staircase, so I can kick this guy off the steps. Boom. And you'll notice that, wait, what happened? I kicked him, and then I moved to the tile that I kicked him, which was the steps, and I've gone to the next floor. Now, usually it will ask you, do you really want to leave? It'll ask you to confirm that action. But because I did a double move to kick a guy off the steps, it was like I was confirming the going up the steps. So now I'm just on a new floor. Looks different. Looks more polished, you know, put together than the previous kind of cave level that I was on. And the message goes into my log in the upper left. It says, alert, a rogue bot has emerged from the scrapyard. Terminate on contact. Yikes. Okay, so before we do anything, remember, Cogmind is a turn-based game, so you can just sit here and chill. Let's take a look at ourselves. How we doing? I have 14 out of 20 on my mass versus support, so that's great. I still have a surplus of 8 energy. I have a pretty good amount of matter. My core is full, and my system corruption is 0. Now, I didn't level up. What happened? I kind of misspoke. You do level up by going up the steps, but it's usually something like every other level that you actually will get to level up and improve. That first floor is just kind of like the spawn point tutorial. Doesn't necessarily count for much, but once we go up the next set of staircases, we will level up, I believe. And you could see my location has changed from -11 to -10 as we've gone up. Now, like I was saying, we're turn-based. I'm going to push escape and go to the menu screen. This is super useful, okay? There's a ton of information in here. The game is great about telling you how to play, giving you tips. It's just very well done. Right now, I'm defaulting onto the basic tips. It just gives you information about what left click, right click, scrolling does. You can save and quit at any time. You could just self-destruct if you want to quit. And you can shut down, which means I want to quit and delete my save. Generally, I'm just hibernating. On the right, it gives you more information about how to rearrange your parts, how to change your data visualization, what's going on. We'll look at data visualization, but this is basically, I'll look at that in a moment. It's giving you information about each window. So it's telling you could scroll the wheel to look up and down the combat wheel. Same thing for the log. It's saying in the parts section, you can organize your parts. It's default by integrity, but you can also sort them by energy, by coverage, by info. And here's your inventory information, and then it's telling you up in the upper right what's going on. Now you can go to advanced. This is going to give you even more hotkeys, keybinds that you can use to customize your gameplay, make things quicker. It's amazing. Look at this at your own time. The manual, look at this. It goes through everything. You could, if you ever have a question, come to the manual and be like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not sure about, propulsion. And then there's a ton of info here you can scroll up and down through. Okay, then there's options here. This is where you can come to change what font the game is at, what size it's at. I keep saying I'm at modal UI. I am, but it's semi-modal. That's the default. I'm not at full modal. I'm at semi-modal, which the game should default to with the most recent update. But you could change this around. I'm just going to keep it there. You can turn off the tutorial. You can change the volume settings. You can change the tile size. I'm leaving all of this pretty much as is, but you can mess with things here. News is just giving you information about where we're at. This is a product of a solo developer, by the way, so you can get information from them about where they're at. And here's some credits from people involved in the production of the game. Well, there's some artists, I suppose, and some other people, but it's mainly Joshki who's does all of these other elements. And records. This is great, by the way, for giving you in the game through the terminals. You're going to learn information, and you can come here to read about any lore that you've collected or anything you found in the gallery, etc., if you want. So this is just a wonderful resource that's built into the game to go from basic controls to advanced controls. By the way, this is page 1 of 2. There's even more over here, more keys and hotkeys and things. So the game is very, very well done with this, and I encourage you to read it on your own to kind of see what you're looking for. Now we're on the next level. We're still alive. And let's just poke around. This orange thing right here is a door. I'm just going to walk through it. And there's just a big machine in this room, nothing else. Okay. Oh, actually, by the way, let's just look at our parts window. I am sorted by integrity. These green bars over here are basically the hit points of each part of your body. So everything is at full. You could check it by energy consumption, just to get an overview, like my pulse gun uses a bunch. You could check it by coverage, what covers my core the most. And you can just cover it based on, here's some information about the item, the damage type, the range of damage, etc. But I'm just going to go back to integrity as the way to display the information about my gear. I'm going to move down. This T right here is a terminal, which you can jack into to get information. I'm just exploring. Okay. This yellow bot is a bad guy, technician. I'm going to right-click on him, and he's an operator. He's hostile. He's hovering, so he's really, really fast. I'm actually going to walk away from this guy. Trying to fight that guy, he's following us, is not our best plan because he might fly away. Okay, I'm going to go in here and close the door. This is a repair terminal. And you can use this repair station to attempt to fix a part that's broken. It's red, it has an R on it, super useful as long as it's working. This is the kind of ideal way that you want to come into a room which is diagonal away from the doorway, like this. And by the way, if you go here into the manual, there's a whole section on survival tips that gives you advice for how to survive in the early game that you can supplement this guide series with. It's really, really good information. It's from the developer, so they know what they're talking about. And you can push 5 to just wait, or you can use the mouse wheel and scroll to wait turns. I'm just kind of seeing if that engineer is following us. He's not, okay. Let's interact with the terminal. So at the terminal, there's certain things you can do. Hacking isn't really something that you want to do as an early game player necessarily, but what I always try to do is just go for anything that says record, like repair station, that's a high chance, 80% chance. It followed, and so, I'm sorry, it's followed decoy data trail. We failed the chance of 80%, and now in the left you can see we have a chance of detection. I'm going to click it again. We got it. And we found information about the repair station. Now this lore text will go into our record screen that we just looked at for later perusal. They are working on tracing us, so if we stay here and try to hack in and get more information, the longer we stay, the higher risk we have that a security force will be dispatched to this area. They will spawn bad guys at a spawning station and send them over here to clean it out. I'm going to try to locate traps. It failed, and now they're 52% tracing. I'm just going to leave. I'm going to say no thank you. I didn't do well. I'm out. Okay, here's a scout. So a scout is something that I want to kill before it goes and tells everybody that I'm here. But it's really fast, so it might not be possible. I'm going to step toward it, and now it sees us. There's a bunch of parts over here that we want to get. I'm going to left click. You can left click to just select this target, and before I fire, you can see with this target selected, over by my weapons on the right side of the screen, I have a 32% chance to hit with each weapon because this guy is really quick and he can evade really well. I'm going to left click again and fire, and we got him. We blew him away. So you could see in the combat log, my medium laser hit him. I damaged his core for 12 and he was destroyed. This is fantastic because it means he can't go tell everybody that he's here. I'm going to quickly get his matter. There's no other bad robots in sight, and he dropped all these parts. Now, if I look at these parts, they're going to be damaged because I shot him. So when you pick up scrap off of another robot, they're usually damaged parts unless you missed that part and didn't hit it. I don't need that. I don't want his hover unit. But his sensor array might be a utility device that we want. Takes 1 energy, but it allows us to scan at a distance of 14 once per turn to see if there's robots near us. So I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to push A and equip it in my utility slot, and you can see there is another scout down here. Now, I don't think he's aware of us. It says right here on the log there is 1 hostile visible. You could always click on this to focus the camera on the hostile guy. And I'm just going to zoom back out. But I don't think he... Does he see us? I don't think so. Let's see what his movement is like. Oh, we found a trap right here. So, obviously, do not step on that. I don't think he saw us. Okay? We're going to come in here. This is a ton of matter. I'm going to pick up as much as I can and leave it there. There's another terminal here. And I'm going to step this way. Oh, man, that was awful. Alright. So, we stepped on a blade trap. What this trap did is it actually did no damage to us, but it annoyingly chopped off our legs and one of our legs and our arms. So I'm going to pick up the piece, pick up. So I'm going to quickly just re-equip myself with all of my stuff. There we go. I had to use some matter. You could see 10 matter for each part that we put on. But now we're back to normal. I'm going to go over here. Okay. So we triggered another trap. There's traps all over the place. That's a shame. You can get a utility that detects traps better than we can, which would be great. So I'm going to immediately pick up this, and it looks like this leg did get damaged that time. Actually, never mind. I take that back. It looks like my all of my stuff got damaged by the blade trap when it got chopped. My core didn't get damaged, but the parts that got chopped off did get damaged. So that's annoying. I'm going to walk over here. I'm going to push 3 to highlight all the gear. There are some terrain scanners. there's some mining lasers. So, the terrain scanner helps you look around more easily and could be another utility that we equip, but we only have one. Oh boy. Oh boy. What's that weapon over there? Beam cannon. I'm going to go get that. Mining laser. I want to have as many spare weapons as I can. And the next most interesting thing to me would be propulsion. These, like sensor arrays, I don't really care about that. Those are all utility items. But we have a backup of a good amount of weapons. And if our legs get broken, we can't equip these treads. I'm going to go down here. Just look around. Okay, you see these question marks down here? This is my sensor array. This is why the sensor array is so sweet. It's telling you, like, there's robots, there's bad guys over here. Well, they're just robots. They could be good guys. They could be bad guys. I'm going to walk away from that. And I'm going to go over here and just see if we can find a staircase. Ooh, okay. There it is. So we found the exit, and we found a bunch of matter pods. Matter pods might be good. I'm going to pick one up anyway. Okay. And we have a choice. Do we want to stay on this level, or do we want to leave? By the way, look in the upper right. You notice how my movement has changed to running because I'm not shooting and my legs have got up to running speed. And now my avoidance, which was normally 40%, is now 55% because I've got the boost of evasion from running. I'm kind of thinking about going up the steps. I'm in good shape. So I'm going to click it again and go up the steps. And boom. Okay, good. So we did not level up because it didn't really count as a full... You see we're still on -10. We didn't quite go fully up. Let's look around here. What's going on? This floor is filled. There's some scrap right here. You open it up. It's like a treasure box. Whoa, a huge storage unit. I can't equip it, but it's cool. There's a big battery. Armor plating, also very nice. I'm going to pick up the armor plating. Armor plating is a utility that you can put on that just is, as it says, armor. I'm going to hit this guy out of the way and hit this guy out of the way. There's the steps for the next floor. But let's go over here to the terminal and see what we can get. Ah, there's no lore here. Now let's go up. And now we're leveling up. Okay, so when you level up in this game, this is how cool Cogmind is. It says evolution parameters apply to. So this means we get to apply 2 to power, propulsion, utility, or weapon, or 1 to any of those. And what that means is we now have an extra slot in that category. So we can equip an extra gun, an extra utility item, extra propulsion, etc. The game recommends 2 propulsion first, and it's definitely a great idea. I am a little bit more balanced. I like 1 propulsion and 1 weapon. Here's the reasoning. Propulsion is insane, because the more propulsion you have, the more support you can get, which means the more stuff you can equip. So there's that. And honestly, I like to have a third gun to make myself more fighty, but let's do 2 propulsion. Let's just go with the game recommendations for the guide, because I like having a third gun, but you can run into problems with overheating, using too much energy, too much mass, or matter rather. But more propulsion just means you have the capabilities to get a bigger storage container, which will help us out so much. And we can leave that alone for a bit. So you really want to think about it. It's propulsion first, weapon second, then utility and power. You don't need power for a long time. So I like this, and we just say confirm, and we go to the next level. You see our core has gone from 250 to 400, and now we have 2 extra propulsion slots, and we found a media storage container, which we're going to equip over our small one because we have enough extra mass to do that. But we really want to find more legs, to equip more legs, so that we can have more armor, get more coverage, and have more support to put on bigger and better guns and stuff. So I think this is a good place to leave our first episode of our Beginner's Guide to Cogmind. Everyone, I hope you have found this to be useful and fun. I haven't explained everything yet. This is going to be a series. There's a ton to talk about. And I've kind of limited some stuff just to make it not as overwhelming. But if you have any questions, please post those in the comments below. I'd love to help you out. And if you are a Cogmind veteran and you have any advice that you want to offer or want to correct any mistakes that I've made, that would be awesome. I appreciate that. Just make sure you do it in a way that's beginner friendly, so that everyone who is just starting the game for the very first time can follow along. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care.